So today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, IT as a service. In a previous video, we talked about the fact that the data center and IT has transformed IT technology resources by virtualizing the data center. And if you layer on top of that the cloud service management elements, you now have cloud services that are provided to the business. But that's only really part of the story. The rest of the story, to get IT as a service functioning, requires organizational and governance changes as well. Think about it this way. If the way that IT budgets is budgeted within the business, it's based on an allocation model. The finance department needs 10% of the IT resources, the manufacturing department needs 40% of the resources, etc. That's all pre-allocated and defined in the budget way in advance, right? Before, maybe September, if your year starts in January, in September you're doing all the planning and figuring out what those allocations are. You need to be able to shift to what the cloud, for example, as a technology is enabling, and that is a supply model, and supply and demand model. And what instead will happen is when the business needs capability from IT, it will demand those resources, and what IT will do in turn is they'll have a certain amount of capability on-premise, but they may actually have to rely on, if there's a big demand and they don't have the supply themselves, backfill those capabilities by providing services from someone else, like a cloud service provider. So IT as a service transforms not only the technology, but now we have to have this functionality where workloads can be placed not only on-premise in our private cloud, but also off-premise by using public cloud providers to augment the demand from the business. This gives us a couple of other benefits, right? So one of them is we don't have all these idling resources around that we are paying for when we're not using them. The second one is, as the business has demands, they want to experiment with new products or they want to try new things, we can allocate the resources we need and provide them to the business as needed. The second thing we can do that I think is even more fascinating is IT can start to adjust pricing of these services back to the business based on not only the supply that they have, but also based on where they source the supply from. So if it's on-premise, they can set the price, and if they want to drive customers in the business to off-premise services, they raise the price on-premise so that customers internally will go to off-premise services. And vice versa. If they want to try to drive business internally because they have too many resources, they can change the pricing so that internally they're going to get used by the business. So these are all new things that are happening, and they require, as I said, this is not just a technological movement in the business. This is also organizational and governance things that have to change as well. And when we do all three of them, then we start to move towards the true IT transformation to IT as a service. And I'd love to hear more from you and join in a conversation with me as we explore this more in future videos. Thank you.